stars, and that's who we are. We are voices. There's nothing to fear. Explode in your rear. Feel our voices.
I can't tear my shirt off.
Go Hulk out.
Hulk it out! What's up? This is Ed.
And this is Carl.
Welcome back to Voice of the Republic.
Mm-hmm.
And wow, we last week we had our long-awaited commentary for Star Wars Episode 2: Attack of the Clones, and I heard a couple people checked it out. Went pretty well.
Yeah, it's you never know quite what you're going to get when you do something like that. I mean, you always hope that it's entertaining and funny and everything. So it's nice that like when people actually watch it and take the time to do this 2 hours along with you, and they actually enjoy it. So it's thanks everyone that's listened to it so far. If you haven't, there we go. Boop, check it out. Little link right here. If you're watching the video. You can check that out. It syncs up. Just watch it along for your DVD or Blu-ray. Have a good time.
Likewise, yeah, you can just download the audio and you can pop in one headphone while you watch, and whatever you get it.
Or play it on a tablet or your smartphone.
Yep. So just like Jamie Baca did last week with his lovely lady Michelle. So they had their iPad and they took pictures of it to share. They were so excited about this event. And all that's up on our Facebook page, so swing by Facebook, check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So how are you doing today?
Hey, good. I've been getting out and doing some stuff in the summer in the lovely city of Chicago, and took a long bike ride yesterday, which was necessary because I haven't been running. I've been working on this game app, and that's like pretty much all I do. So,
and it was a gorgeous weekend to get out. I was up I went up to Columbus for a friend's birthday and hung up out there for a little bit. Went bowling and went downtown. We tried to go to an arts festival, but we couldn't find it, so we just walked around downtown for a few minutes. Got back in our car and went back. and then there's a lot of sitting next to windows playing Mario Kart for the Wii U. That was a nice way to enjoy the weather, you know, because if you can't be outside, you might as well be next to a window.
That's closer, yeah, like bubble kids. Yeah, that's what they do.
Yeah, we even opened said windows. It was great. So
yeah. Last weekend I lugged these giant window units up into my apartment and installed them and risked dropping them onto the people below. And the next day it dropped down to like 72.
That's always how it works.
Totally.
But here's the thing: is you really shouldn't have to worry too much about dropping the AC units, because if you drop it on someone, I really don't think they're going to notice. I mean, or at least they're not going to survive long enough to notice.
Yeah.
So you got that going for you,
which is nice.
Yeah.
Fabulous. So we have looks like we have a birthday to talk about today, or this week, this season, this period, time period.
Okay.
No. No, it just caught my eye recently that it is the 30th anniversary of the release of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Oh yeah. It came out in '84. I was 2 years old at the time when that one came out, and I actually did see it in a drive-in theater in South Zanesville. So I just very, very vaguely remember it. Because, back then movies ran a lot longer. So I probably actually saw it in like '83 or something. Because, there was a lot of times when like the popular movies, if there wasn't anything else going on at the time, they'd bring them back like for like a year or so afterwards, So you could roll up and see like Star Wars like a year or two after it actually came out if there's nothing else going on. So we got to see Indiana Jones in the drive-in theater. And I remember seeing the movie, and I remember going to the theater, the drive-in, but I don't remember any specifics about it. So, but I do remember it.
Yeah, similar to my first Star Wars experience, which was also a drive-in when I was 3. So, you know, and I was really distracted by the cartoons on the screen on the other side of the car. So I missed a good, 20, 30 minutes of the movie, my first watching.
Yeah, that's the thing is amazing stuff is wasted on children. So
Yeah.
don't have them. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Never appreciated, fuckers.
Yeah, and I mean, and if you do have them, just don't give them anything. They're never going to love it. They're never going to love it as much as you.
Nope, nope. All you kids brainwashing your children with your your He-Mans and your Transformers and your Star Wars. Just don't brainwash these kids.
Yeah, I always love it when people like bring their kids and it's like, you won't believe it, my kid loves Star Wars. I'm like, geez, a person that watches Star Wars like 3 times a month and their kid grows up to like Star Wars, I would have never guessed.
Yeah, it's pretty simple math, dude.
Yeah. I mean, if it works for racism, it'll work for Star Wars, I guess.
That's right. Definitely nurture, not nature. So, I, a little older than you, so I was actually 10 when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Raiders, not just because there was Star Wars people in it, and Star Wars people made it, but just couldn't get enough Raiders. Similarly to the Star Wars brainwashing fans that we're talking to right now, you're into what your parents are into. So, I watched a lot of movies with my folks, and my mom was into a lot of old movies, and so this came out and totally was like, bing, another hit for Ed, because it's a fucking guy going up against Nazis in the 30s, and I'm like,
yeah.
I know, I'm 10, so I know, or earlier, I knew more or less about the Nazis, but I knew a lot from movies, and I knew the time period.
And they're bad guys. That's all you need to know as a kid. It's like you see the Nazi uniform, and it's been instilled in you so much over the years that like you see that uniform, and you're just like, those are the bad guys. I mean, I want to see a movie where the Nazis aren't the bad guys. Like, show me that movie. It doesn't exist. And if it does, it's propaganda. It's like it was propaganda made by the Nazis. There's
I think
not
it's illegal
really
in most countries to make a movie where the Nazis are the good guys.
exactly. Because it's funny because JBL, pro wrestler, he actually got in huge trouble over in Germany because he was a bad guy and he was a heel, and so to get the crowd worked up, he actually put out the salute and goose stepped along the ring apron back and forth.
Oh, no.
And to top it off, he knows fluent German, so he's just like cursing and yelling at him in German and everything like that. And the cops, like after the match, the cops came back backstage and tried to arrest him. And he's like, whoa. He's like, it's not me. It's my character. He had to explain. He's like, it was all an act. He's like, I'm not a Nazi. I'm not a sympathizer. He's like, I'm not encouraging this. He's like, I'm the bad guy. He's like, people shouldn't like me. He's like, and that's what I was doing. But I always liked that story. So
that's great.
But yeah, I mean, and that's the thing about Indiana Jones, though, is it's strange because itself is iconic, but it draws from all these other iconic things. The noir films, the action adventure films, and it's another George Lucas like love story to serials and old movies. He really plays into like the old pulp magazines and stuff that he loved as a child. And I think that's one reason why it works is it's a distillation of things that people already love, and he kind of took the best parts of certain things and put them all into this bowl, and the result was Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark. So
yeah, but once we were ready for the sequel, they had an interesting issue of, all right, we already had the power of God versus Earth's most ultimate evil icon, so where do you go from here? So it's interesting that the second movie actually turns out to be a prequel, and they're going up against like fucking death cult in India.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, when I first saw this movie, I was excited like everybody else. More indies, more indie. But I didn't like it. It's not that I was afraid of it. I just didn't like what was happening. I thought a lot of things were too cheesy. I thought a lot of things were out of character for the movie
Hmm.
itself. It was just, to me, I mean, I loved Empire, but it was just, and I loved, horror movies, but this is Indiana Jones we're talking about here. So ripping people's hearts out of their body, all of the swearing. I mean, there was a lot of swearing, and not just hell
Yeah.
and shit. He's on the bridge, and it's echoey, but that's a very loud fuck he drops. So,
Well, and that's a really funny thing that you should mention that because this movie is partially responsible for the creation of the PG-13 for the movie rating system.
oh,
Because when the movie
yeah.
came out, not only did it get kind of mixed reviews, but it also got a lot of heat for the content. Because I mean, there's the first sacrifice scene. They actually show a person burning alive. It's like, and this movie is not an R-rated movie. It's a PG-rated movie. But that's because they didn't have a PG-13 at the time, and that was when they realized it's like we need something that jumps between this PG and the R because this isn't quite an R movie. There's no like nudity. There's no real gratuitous violence. I mean, though I think that the burning alive thing, I think, kind of goes across that line. I think in this day and age that probably would have earned it an R rating, but back then it didn't. So like they made this PG-13. So.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff like that. There's a guy that gets stabbed in the chest with a skewer, and it's on fire. Therefore, he's on fire. There's,
people getting shot with blood, which is something you don't see this day and age in even a PG-13 movie. If you go and watch something like The Wolverine, the one right before this latest X-Men movie, you get people just getting shot up.
Mhm.
No blood. It's like, oh, I got shot, I fell over. It's like the old Western standard. Oh,
Yeah, totally.
fall. It's like, and that's just something that, like, but straight up, like, people getting shot, there's blood, people, like, bodies getting eaten by alligators, a guy getting, like, crushed up by, like, this giant stone rolling pin, and then, like, a blood trail after it happens. It's like, it's a really graphic, bad movie. I mean, like, there's a lot of really touchy content in there, so.
Yeah, it's and again, it seems like something that there was a lot of that going on at the time when it came out. So I don't know if it was a response to that, or they just figured, well, it's in theaters and kids are exposed to it anyway, so we might as well put it in. But I was turned off, and it's the one movie from that time I just never really I'd never really go back to it, even when we had I don't even know if we had the bootleg DVD or the bootleg VHS in my house. Raiders, I would just watch, and then later Last Crusade came out, and watch it, and it wasn't until recently that it kind of, like, in the last 10 years, it clicked, and something was like, you know what? I do like this movie. I like it now. It took all this time to grow on me.
I had the exact opposite. As a kid, I kind of liked it, but I think it was because again, we were a little bit older than probably some of the people watching, and probably a little younger than others. But like you said, the VHS bootlegs. If you wanted to watch something like this, you either had to have a VHS player, or it had to be on HBO or like one of those premium channels. And I never really got to see Raiders of the Lost Ark. And again, this was before Last Crusade. So I remember seeing Temple of Doom a couple times, and I enjoyed it because it was the only Indiana Jones I really ever got, because for some reason, being the newest one, it's the one that got played a lot. That was the one that was on HBO more, because Raiders of the Lost Ark, that's the old one. We don't want to watch the old one. We want the new hotness, not the old bustedness. It's like, so I saw that a lot, and as a kid, that was my Indiana Jones, and I really dug it. And then, Last Crusade came along, and then by that time, I was old enough to go, like, track down Raiders of the Lost Ark and watch it again, like, with full awareness. And I have to say, of the 3 Indiana Jones movies, that one grew less loved by me as the years went by. So it's pretty much the exact opposite. I'm sorry, the Temple of Doom. So
Okay.
so it's the exact opposite of you. I loved it as I was younger. Don't like it as much now. So
Interesting.
Mhm.
Well, shoot. There's a bunch of things I want to get to, but
Mhm.
I think we're gonna have to wait.
Oh,
Sorry.
all right.
Sorry, I sound like this, but that's how I feel. Serious. Cool. So yeah, we'll get more indie tomorrow. But if you've got opinions on indie, you think we're full of shit or whatever, yeah, hit us up. You can always send us emails, voicemails, and all that information can be found at VOR radio. Is that ours? Yeah. We have so many addresses. There's so many ways to get a hold of us, darling. I get confused. Yeah, www.vorradio.com. So yeah, check us out there and let us know.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Cool. So yeah, let's come back tomorrow.
Okay.
All right.
It's so awkward. It's so
Good for you.
awkward trying to close it up with just the two people because I'm so used to having three people. So I don't know what we're going to do. So
Yeah. We end the show with Kalima Shakti Day.
no.
No.
Just cover your heart.
Just cover your heart, kids, and may the force
Be with.
badass.
Mm.
No.
No.